Thank you very much. My name is Stephen Yang. I'm a Regulatory Business Process Manager from the Office of Program and Regulatory Operations, OPRO. I'm in the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. And I'll be briefly just talking about some best practices from a Regulatory Business Process Manager perspective in communications. Our objectives, three of them, are we're going to discuss the Form FDA 356H, the guidance for industry, some common errors, and some best practices. Also, we'll briefly touch on the withdrawal of approved ANDA supplements. And for communications, we'll discuss, again, briefly, four-part harmony and quality-related information requests and deficiencies. So for the Form FDA 356H, guidance for industry, common errors, and best practices. From guidance to industry, we have the identification of manufacturing establishments in applications submitted to CBER and CDER questions and answers. This provides instructions on facility information to include in the Form FDA 356H. It's not binding, so alternative approach can be used if it satisfies the requirements of the applicable statutes and regulations. And also we have the good ANDA submission practices guidelines for industry. Now, for resources, we have the abbreviated new drug application forms and submission requirements, instructions to complete, for completing the Form FDA 356H and the Form FDA 356H. These resources and guidances are all available on our FDA website. Now, for some common errors that we as regulatory business process managers do see on the Form FDA 356, and this is just, a polling of regulatory business process managers. We sometimes do see the official responsible is no longer with the company. It's understandable. People, tend to move from location to location. So it's important that you update this information on your Form FDA 356H. Also, incorrect phone numbers and/or fax numbers. Again, stating the importance of, updating this form whenever there are changes to the phone number or fax number. Now, next common error we do see sometimes are misspellings or inadvertent spaces on email addresses. This is kind of silly in some ways, but it does happen sometimes. And so just, be extra careful when you're completing the information for your Form FDA 356H that your email address is correct, spelled properly, and no spaces in between. I've had on occasions where, once or twice where when confirming if a information request communication was received by an applicant, it turns out it was never received. And just upon, careful inspection, I've noticed that there was a misspelling that was in the Form FDA 356. So again, very common, a silly error. However, it does cause some, unnecessary delays. Also, please don't use the outdated version of the Form FDA 356. We do have a new one. In addition, some other common errors that we do see, incomplete establishment information. No DUNS numbers provided. FEA numbers do not match what we have on record, and boxes in establishment information are not completed. This just kind of takes time from regulatory business process managers to verify this information, just to make sure the information that you are supplying is correct and matches what we have. Again, taking time from doing more important parts of your application. Submission subtype and supplement category, if applicable, are not checked. Again, please check all boxes if appropriate. All drug substance manufacturing facilities referenced in the Drug Master File are not included in the Form FDA 356H. So it's important to remember that if you are referencing a Drug Master File, that you should include the facilities, appropriate facilities that are responsible for product manufacturing and testing. So now I'm going to go to some best practices. And first, of course, provide up-to-date contact information. It's very important, make sure you have the most up-to-date phone and fax numbers so that we can contact you in case we are in need of providing information to you or you providing information to us. Provide secure email address. We do have to check, we do check email addresses if they are secure before we issue any letters to applicants. If it's not secured, then we'll have to fax these letters, which means your fax numbers should also, make sure your fax numbers are all up to date. Again, it just takes just a little bit more time to fax rather than email. If you want to establish a secure email address, if you don't have, you can send requests to secure email at fda.hhs.gov, and they'll get you set up with secure email. Also, use the most up-to-date FDA Form 356H. And you can tell just by looking at the bottom of the form, it has the most recent edition, also indicates that the previous editions are obsolete. Continue with best practices. Provide detailed explanation and reasons for submission section. In particular for supplements, include all changes, not just the type of change. I have an example where an applicant indicated, it was a CB30. However, just provide the location in the application. So for us to kind of search and determine the reason. It'd be nice if that was already included in this section. Also, complete the establishment information completely. Make sure you check new if establishment is new. For supplements, check yes or no if an establishment is involved in the change. If it's left blank, it may be interpreted as no. So it's nice to make sure you check all the boxes when appropriate. Indicate if an establishment is active or withdrawn. So it goes without saying that checking all the necessary boxes leads to less confusion, and of course, less confusion just means that we're able to process your application in a much more timely manner. It's important to include all establishments for manufacturing and testing drug substance and drug product, but also include drug substance intermediate facilities. While it's obviously that the manufacturing sites for drug substance are included, sometimes the intermediate facilities are not. So it's important that you include that in your Form FDA 356H. Include sterilization and micronization sites for your sterile products. Include facilities used for storing drug substances and processed material and commercial drug product under quarantine prior to a disposition decision. Include facility information contained in the DMF properly incorporated by reference. So going back, make sure if you're referencing the DMF, make sure you include the appropriate manufacturing and testing information in your 356H. Include facility withdrawals submitted in a DMF amendment. Also, for best practice, include establishment information with each amendment and supplement. For combination products, include the facility's manufacturing and constituent part of the co-package or single entity combination product or drug device combination product. If you're adding a new facility or remove one, please include in the Form FDA 356 submitted with the amendment. Also, include DMF research and development or testing sites that generate release data to support an ANDA. Excipient testers do not need to be included unless it's critical to the drug product performance. Bioequivalence and testing sites do not need to be included. Container closure manufacturing and testing sites may not need to be included also. Also, please provide updated FEI number and DUNS information. And facilities, again, facilities associated with the DMF should be included in your 356H. If an approved facility is withdrawn before the application is approved, keep it in the 356H and check withdrawn. Also, if the site is ready for inspection, please indicate the correct boxes in that just to let us know if your facility is ready for inspection in the appropriate boxes. Now, our first challenge question. The FDA will send an information request by email if the applicant's email address is unsecured, true or false? No, it's false. As I mentioned earlier, it's very important that you have a secure email address, and if you are in need of that, you can contact us and we can get you secure email address. Otherwise, we'll have to fax your information request letter, and again, that tends to take a little bit longer than actually getting the information by email, which is instantaneous. Now, my next topic, briefly, we'll just touch on withdrawing approved ANDA supplements. Now, we have the guidance for industry changes to an approved NDA or ANDA, changes to guidance, for submitting a post-approval changes. Applicants, when you're, withdrawing an approved supplement, you should submit this withdrawal of the approved supplement as a supplement. Because withdrawing an approved supplement is actually a change. So as such, you should refer to the guidance, as I mentioned earlier, changes to an approved NDA or ANDA for submitting post-approval changes in accordance with 21 CFR 314.70. And as a side note, regulatory business process managers, we will be, contacting applicants if withdrawals of approved supplements are not submitted as a supplement. My next challenge question. Withdrawing an approved supplement is considered a post-approval change, true or false? So it's true. Exactly true. Again, refer to the guidance, for post-approval changes for a NDA or ANDA. Now, the last topic I'd like to discuss is four-part harmony in deficiency communications. Just a little bit of a background. This is a map. This pertains to a map 5016.8 revision 1, using four-part harmony in quality-related assessment communications. This map is intended to promote efficient and effective communication between assessment teams and applicants. By clearly stating deficiencies and information requests with a rationale in such requests, help applicants address the issues successfully. Now, an applicant's lack of understanding of the issue may lead to a greater number of assessment cycles. So, hopefully this is what this four-part harmony will address, reducing the number of assessment cycles. Of course, continuing improvements on communications, IRs and deficiencies are in progress. So, this is a work in progress. However, it is agency-wide. So, hopefully you'll be seeing communications and deficiencies and information requests following this four-part harmony. Incidentally, this came as a result of a PDUFA commitment, but now it is agency-wide. So elements of four-part harmony. So the first element is what was provided. And this is just an acknowledgement of the information submitted and provide reference to relevant modules, sections, pages, or tables. Element 2 is what is the issue? And that's identifying missing information or information that FDA considers inadequate. 3 is what is needed. And that's requesting additional information or recommend an alternative approach to the addressed issue. And the last element, element 4, is why is it needed? And this is to state the basis for the information request or deficiency, and should include the impact of the issue on the overall regulatory decision and references to all or part of applicable regulations, statutes, guidances, and or FDA recognized consensus standards as appropriate. Now, I have an example of a four-part harmony in a quality related communication. So basically, for this example, we have for your drug product, we acknowledge the X month accelerated and Y month long-term stability data provided in section 3.2P.83. This is considered element 1. The provided stability data do not support the proposed shelf life because insufficient long-term data were provided to support extrapolation to 2 years. This is element 2. Provide updated stability data or support your proposed shelf life, otherwise revise your proposed shelf life, element 3. And for more information, see International Council for Harmonization for Guidance for Industry, Q1E Evaluation of Stability Data, June 2004, including appendix, which provides recommendations for evaluating data to estimate a drug product's shelf life. This is element 4. So again, as I mentioned, this example is actually in the map and it is available in the FDA's website. So after receiving deficiencies, these are some of the expectations we have, and these are nothing new. Number 1, provide complete responses to all deficiency within the indicated time frame. Include information or data that has been requested. And remember, unsolicited information will alter the goal date. If extension is needed for your response, please notify FDA as soon as you know the extension is needed. This allows us to discuss whether or not it is possible to provide such an extension. And of course, after receiving your action letters, CR letter, applicants can request a post-CR clarification meeting for clarifying questions or for applications which are scientific, which meet the scientific type of application, a post-CR scientific meeting for scientification, I apologize, for complex products. So my last challenge question. Which of the following is true regarding four-part harmony? A, it is intended to promote efficient and effective communication between assessment teams and applicants. B, what is the issue is an element of four-part harmony. C, clearly stating deficiencies and information requests and including a rationale in such requests helps applicants address the issue successfully. And D, all are true. Well, it's D, all are true. And these are the references I've used for my presentation, and they're all available on the FDA website. Thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Brenda.